I am 90 years old. I had 3 small strokes in 2021, and I am sitting in my own house in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, telling you this myself. Not a facility, not a memory care unit, not anywhere that somebody else decided I should be. My house, my kitchen, my window with the pecan tree outside it that Roosevelt planted in 1974 and that has outlasted him and is going to outlast me too, and I consider that a comfort rather than a sadness. I am going to tell you what saved me from the nursing home, not what inspired me, not what motivated me, what actually, specifically, practically saved me in the way that a nurse means saved, which is to say, what are the specific things that produce this specific outcome, and how can someone else reproduce them? Because I spent 44 years going into people's homes as a community health nurse in rural Mississippi, and I watched what kept people in their own lives and what didn't. And I am telling you right now, with 44 years of professional observation behind me, the difference between the people who stayed home and the people who ended up in a facility was almost never primarily about their medical condition. It was about 5 things. 5 specific, learnable, reproducible things that most people either had or didn't have, and that the ones who had them kept and the ones who didn't have them didn't know to build. I buried Roosevelt in 2012 after 49 years of marriage. I buried my daughter Wanda in 2007. She was 51 years old, and she had fought for 4 years, and she fought hard, and it wasn't enough, and I have made my peace with that in the slow, incomplete way you make peace with something that incomplete. I lost Odessa, who was my church sister and closest friend for 38 years. I lost my brother James. I have had enough loss to have earned the right to give up on things. I have not given up on things. And in the spring of 2021, when the strokes came and the doctors started talking about my options and my daughter Renee started looking at facilities online in the way that people look at facilities online when they are frightened and love you, I said, "Not yet. Give me the chance to try something else first." They gave me 6 weeks in rehab. I came home, and what I did when I came home is what I am going to tell you today. Now, before you decide this does not apply to you or the person you're worried about, let me tell you who I am. I am not exceptional. I need to say that plainly because the moment someone describes surviving something, the listener starts looking for the reason it worked for her that it won't work for them. I grew up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the second of 6 children, in a house where my mother woke up before sunrise every morning and started the day by doing what needed to be done, without discussion, without self-pity, without waiting to feel ready. That is not exceptional. That is a specific upbringing, and it gave me specific habits. And I want to tell you about those habits because habits can be built. Upbringing is finished. Habits are not. I became a nurse because Mrs. Loretta Banks, who was the county health visitor when I was growing up, came to our school when I was 11 years old and talked to us about what a woman who understood the body could do for a community, and I thought, that is what I want to do. I started nursing in 1958. I retired in 2002, and in those 44 years, I went into more homes than I can count, and I saw every version of how people age that exists to be seen. The moment this story starts, the real story, not the medical one, is a Monday morning in June of 2021, about 2 weeks after I came home from the rehab facility. I was sitting in this kitchen, which I had not been certain I would sit in again, and I was going through what the rehab people call a discharge plan, which is a list of instructions and recommendations and appointments and modifications. And I put that plan down on the table and I thought, this plan is about what they're afraid will happen to my body. It is not about what I know keeps a person's whole self alive. So I made my own plan, based on 44 years of watching what actually works. That plan is what I want to tell you about. Here is the thing I need to say before I describe the plan, because without this, the plan is just a list, and a list is not enough. The nursing home conversation, the one that happens in hospital rooms and on the phone between worried children and at kitchen tables like this one, almost always focuses on the wrong question. The question it asks is, can this person be kept safe? And that is a real question, and it deserves a real answer. But it is not the only question. And when it becomes the only question, the answer almost always points toward a facility, because a facility is very good at keeping people safe. It is also very good at keeping people safe in a way that gradually removes everything that made them want to be kept safe in the first place. I spent 44 years watching this happen. I watched strong, clear-minded, full-of-life people go into facilities because they could no longer be kept safe at home. And I watched those same people 6 months later moving through their days in a way that had less of them in it. Not because the facility was cruel, because safety, without the conditions that make the safe life feel worth living, is just a managed waiting. The paradox that I want you to sit with is this. The medical system is extraordinarily good at keeping your body alive and extraordinarily inattentive to whether the person inside the body is still fully present. And the things that keep the person inside the body fully present are not medical things. They are the 5 things I am about to describe, and none of them are on the discharge plan. Here is my plan, the one I made for myself, the one that has kept me in this kitchen for 3 years since the strokes. The first thing is movement. Daily. Without negotiation. Without waiting to feel like it. MHM. I know you have heard this. I am going to tell you something about it that you have not heard, which is why the way most people think about movement after a health crisis is backwards, and how that backwards thinking is what puts people in facilities. After the strokes, the left side of my body was weaker. My balance was affected. My confidence, which I had never in my life had reason to question, was shaken in a specific way. The way it is shaken when your own body does something unexpected, and you realize that the body you have been operating for 87 years has become, in some ways, a stranger. The rehab people gave me exercises, good exercises. I did them. But the thing they did not give me was what I gave myself, which was a daily walk outside to the end of my driveway and back, then to the mailbox, then to the corner, that I started 3 weeks after coming home, and that I have not missed more than a handful of times since. Rain, I modify. Cold, I bundle. Bad days, I go anyway, shorter. Why does this matter more than the exercises? Because the exercises are about the body. The walk outside is about everything else. It is about being a person who goes outside, who is still in the world, who the neighbors see, who the dog on the corner expects on Tuesday mornings, whose absence would be noticed. That last part, whose absence would be noticed, is not a small thing. It is, I believe, one of the primary biological signals to a body about whether it is expected to continue. The body responds to being expected. Give it something to be expected for. The second thing is cooking my own food and eating it at a table. Child, please. Let me tell you what I mean before you tell me it is too simple to be useful. After the strokes, Renee wanted to arrange meal delivery. Good food delivered to the door, easy, convenient. No risk of me standing at the stove longer than was wise. I understood her reasoning. I also understood, from 44 years of watching what happens to people who stop cooking, that the convenience of not cooking has costs that do not appear on the meal delivery invoice. Cooking is thinking ahead. It is planning. It is managing multiple things simultaneously. It is fine motor work and timing, and the particular satisfaction of having made something out of separate ingredients that had no value individually and considerable value together. These are not small things for a brain that has had strokes and needs to be used in order to continue to work well. These are exactly the kinds of things a post-stroke brain needs to be doing every day. I cook. I adapted. I sit on a stool at the counter for the chopping. I use lighter pots. I take longer, and I am not bothered by taking longer. And I eat at this table with the place set properly, because the table is not just about food. The table is about being a person who eats meals rather than a person who consumes calories. That distinction is not trivial. It is the difference between a life that has structure and a life that is being managed. Eat at the table with a fork and a plate and something you made. Every day if you can. It is telling your body something important about what is expected of it. The third thing is community. Specific, regular, non-negotiable community with people who expect to see you. After Roosevelt died and after Wanda and after the strokes, I had plenty of reason to pull in, to let the world get smaller, to be the woman who used to go to things and now mostly stays home. Every contraction of the world felt reasonable in the moment and would have been, collectively, fatal. MHM, fatal. I do not use that word loosely. Isolation kills people. Not dramatically, not quickly, but it kills them in the same way that a leak in the foundation kills a house, slowly, invisibly, and by the time the damage is obvious, it has been building for years. I had 3 things I did not allow to be negotiated away after the strokes. My Sunday church, which I have attended since I was 7 years old, and which I attended 6 weeks after coming home from rehab, first in a wheelchair that I was embarrassed about, and then without it. My Tuesday afternoon telephone call with my friend Celestine, who lives in Jackson and who I have talked to every Tuesday for 22 years and will talk to until one of us cannot anymore. And my Thursday morning involvement with the County Health Department's Community Health Worker Advisory Board, which I have been on since I retired and where I am the oldest member by 15 years and where they actually listen to what I say, which I consider important for the continued function of my brain. These 3 things are not hobbies. They are load-bearing walls. Remove them and something collapses. I know this because I watched it collapse in other people for 44 years, and I was not willing to let it collapse in me. Find your load-bearing walls. Name them. Protect them with the same seriousness you would protect any structural element of a house you intend to keep standing. The 4th thing is asking for help in the specific, honest way that actually gets the help you need, not the vague, proud, insufficient version that most people of my generation were raised to offer instead. I was raised in a household where you did not ask for help. You managed. You got through. You let the people around you know you were fine because being fine was the expectation and meeting expectations was the standard of a person's character. That upbringing served me in many ways. It did not serve me after the strokes, when what I needed was specific help with specific things. And what I was offering instead was a general performance of capability that was fooling nobody and getting nobody the information they needed to actually help me. Renee could not help me because she did not know what I needed. I could not tell her what I needed because naming it felt like defeat. This is an arrangement that produces nothing useful for anyone. I know this. I watched it fail in other people for 44 years. I still did it for 3 months after coming home before I finally sat down with Renee and said, "Let me tell you what is actually hard and what I actually need. And we will figure out which things you can help with and which things we need to find another solution for." That conversation lasted 2 hours. It was uncomfortable. It was the most productive 2 hours I had had since before the strokes. Renee started coming on Saturday mornings to help with the heavy cleaning and the grocery shopping. She arranged for a neighbor's son to handle the yard. She found a transportation volunteer through the County Senior Services office that I did not know existed and which has taken me to every medical appointment since without requiring me to call Renee at an inconvenient time and feel like a burden while doing it. None of that was possible until I said the specific, honest thing about what I needed. The vague thing produced nothing. The specific thing produced a plan. MHM. There is a lesson in that applies well past the topic of nursing homes. The fifth thing is the one that I consider most important and that is least likely to appear on any discharge plan produced by any medical facility in this country. The fifth thing is purpose. A specific, regular, ongoing reason to be here that is not about your own survival. I want to be precise about what I mean because the word purpose gets used loosely, and when it gets used loosely, it becomes useless. I do not mean a general sense of meaning. I do not mean a feeling that your life has value. I mean a concrete, specific, weekly commitment to something outside yourself that would be noticeably worse if you were not there. For me, after the strokes, that thing was the Community Health Worker Advisory Board. Those meetings happen on the third Thursday of every month, and I have something to contribute to them that nobody else in the room has, which is 44 years of going into homes and seeing what actually happens versus what the system believes happens. When I am not there, something is missing. I know this because they have told me, and because I can see it in the quality of the decisions that get made without the ground level perspective I provide. That knowing, the knowing that something would be worse without me, is not vanity. It is biology. It is the signal that keeps the body oriented toward the future rather than beginning the long, quiet process of disinvestment from it. Your purpose does not have to be a board or a committee. It can be a grandchild who expects to hear from you on Sunday evenings, a garden that will fail if you do not tend it, a neighbor who calls you when something goes wrong because you're the person who knows what to do, a church position, a skill you teach, anything that has your name written into its future, and that would be genuinely worse without your continued presence. That thing is keeping you alive in ways that no medication can replicate. Find it. Protect it. Do not let anybody, not your children, not your doctors, not the well-meaning people who want to arrange your life into something safer, talk you out of it in the name of managing your risks. Your purpose is not a risk. It is the thing managing all the others. I want to talk to you directly now, the way I talked to patients for 44 years when the situation required directness and the patient had been waiting for it. You have been watching this, and you have been thinking about someone else. Your mother who is managing less well than she says. Your father who has been in the same chair in the same room for the last 6 months and who are watching get smaller and who do not know how to help because the only solution you have been shown is the facility brochure. Or you have been thinking about yourself and about the fact that things are harder than they were 2 years ago and easier to hide than you expected. And you have been hiding them with the same instinct I had. The instinct to perform capability until the performance becomes too thin to sustain. Here is what I know about both of those situations. The 5 things I described are available right now. Not after a health crisis, not after the fall that finally makes the conversation unavoidable. Now, while there is still time to build them rather than scramble to find them. The movement, the cooking, the community, the honest asking, the purpose. If you have all 5 of these things right now, you're in better shape than you know, and you should protect them. If you are missing 1 or 2 or 3, you know which ones they are, and you know approximately when you lost them, and you probably have a reason ready for why losing them was reasonable. The reason is not the point. Getting them back is the point. I will tell you plainly, I am 90 years old, and I know the general direction of things. That is not frightening to me. The Lord has been clear enough in my life about what matters and what doesn't that the end of it does not frighten me the way it might have once.